is Mr. Stuart Perry, aka Mister Stu. He's a TV personality and child therapist who's been spreading his wisdom in the mental health field for over 13 years now. His inspiring talks on resilience and mental health have captivated audiences really at this point across the nation and even internationally through our YouTube channel. His practical strategies have helped countless individuals and communities deal with trauma and stress. He's not content with just speaking. He's also founded Mister Stu TV, a platform that dedicates fun and creative mental health education content and breaks down barriers and tackles taboos that might go along with it. So if you're looking for an engaging and entertaining way to learn about mental wellness, let Mister Stu be your guide.
Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to be with you all today. My name is Stuart Perry. I also go by Mister Stu. And today is just a celebration of you as a parent. Whether you are someone who has biological children, you are helping to raise children, or you are someone who works with children and just wants to love and support them, we welcome you, and we are so excited that you're here with us today. I'm going to be talking today about raising little superheroes, and we'll talk about what exactly that means. But it comes down to this concept called resilience. And resilience is kind of a buzzword that's been going around for quite some time. If you have any questions about resilience or about bringing out the best in your children, please make sure to post those in the chat. And I will be so excited to talk with you about some of those things at the end of my presentation today. But let's talk about what resilience is and why it's important at all. Because it is a key part of every child's development. And children develop from babies, and they grow, and it's so amazing to see that growth. And resilience is one of those things that supports them at every single stage, at every single level. It helps children learn how to cope with their emotions, both positive and negative, because being too excited can also be a problem, just like feeling overwhelmingly sad can be a major problem. It helps them make sense of positive and negative experiences, and it helps them find solutions to problems, so that at the end of that problem, they know that they are capable of doing amazing things. Resilience gives children the ability to bounce back after life's hardships and become more successful in the future. One way to think about resilience is an analogy that I've kind of come up with is that when children are babies, they're not fully aware. They don't know exactly what's going on. All they know is there's this world. There's a bald man with some hair growing out of his chin. There's all sorts of stuff going on. And there's not a whole lot of sense making. There's just a lot of things coming in, a lot of sensory information when a child is very young, a baby or a very young toddler. They're just kind of receiving information, and their brain is starting to put some things together. And then there comes a point where the child almost realizes, I am alive. I'm not just floating through this space, and it's not just that everything is out of my control, but I am alive. I am part of this world. And once that happens, there are some other things that start to happen. And a way to think about it is that everyone has a tray that they must carry. And at this stage in a child's development, the child learns even they have a tray to carry. Now, it could be that they can't even walk yet. So I'm not talking about a literal tray, but they have this metaphorical tray that they have to carry whatever happens to end up on that tray. It could be that at early stages of their development, that they have little things that they maybe choose to place on their tray. Maybe it's something like a friendship. And so they place that on their tray, and now they are responsible for carrying this tray that also has friendship on it. Maybe then they pick up a sport or an activity that they really enjoy, and so they put that on their tray. Now there's something else for them to carry on their tray. And it's their responsibility to carry whatever is on that tray. Now it could be that then they start school, and school is a bigger item, and they've still got their tray, and they put school up on their tray, and now it's starting to get to be more things, but they're still carrying their tray. Well, here's what happens if, as the parents, as the adults that children trust, if you are taking too many things from your child's tray, you are actually decreasing their resilience. It could appear like, oh, I am just meaning so well. They got in a fight with their friend, so I'm just going to call the parent of the friend. I'm going to talk to the friend. I'm going to smooth things over. My kid is going to be so happy and proud of me because I took care of it all. But what can happen then is when you take an item from your child's tray, take it completely, or let's say you just try to carry their whole tray for them, then eventually one day, for whatever reason, they're going to have to take their tray back. Whether that be because they go off to college, or they go and they start a career, or they move out, or you pass away. All of these things are legitimate reasons why the child might one day have to take their tray back, be forced to take their tray back. And what can happen is that if over time, if from the time the child was very young, if they've been carrying their tray, then it's only a difference of a few things, maybe one or a few things at a time. Now I'm going to carry this item, and once I've carried this item long enough, now I'm ready to take this item, whatever this thing might be. Now that I've carried this for quite some time, now I'm ready to add even more. And you know what? That friend is gone, so I don't have to take this one anymore. Whatever it might be, but they are prepared for the next level of their tray because they've been carrying the tray the whole time. But if you have been carrying their tray for them and then you hand it back, they will collapse under the pressure of their tray. We have to learn to let children carry their trays. We have to learn to let children take things as they come and add items to their tray and add responsibilities and add relationships and add different things to their trays so that over time they become ready for even the next thing and the next thing and the next thing because they've been carrying this tray. And so now it's just adding one or a few things at a time rather than dumping the whole tray back on because you've been carrying the whole tray for them the whole time. They haven't had to worry about a single thing. And now here you go. You've got to carry all this. Well, then their muscles, their mental muscles, their brain muscles are not ready to carry all of those things that may have been going on. Let's take just a moment real quick to talk about a few things that might end up on the tray that you might not think about. First is the news. The news might end up on your child's tray, and it might end up in this form. If it's a newspaper, you know what? And I'm not saying because it's a newspaper, but let's say it's just a simple little news story. It might end up just right there, and it doesn't add much weight, and your child can still carry their tray. Or it could be something pretty large, and they saw it on TV, and so it's almost like they're carrying that whole TV worth of news because of some story that they saw on the news. That can get added to your child's tray. Let's talk about memories. It could be that your child has some memories, and maybe those memories are great memories. Maybe they are things that your child is happy to keep with them on their tray, or maybe there are some things that are pretty difficult for them to carry. maybe there are some memories, some things that have been added to their tray that they're not so happy to carry around. One thing I think parents often don't think about are the accolades, all of the awards, all of the positive things. Well, guess what? Your child still has to carry the weight of the pressure from this reward or this uh, uh, acknowledgement of how great they are. They still have to carry that. And sometimes kids are so ready. Maybe they want a spelling bee. Great. But how many times have we heard about young child stars who then collapse under the pressure because this weight was too much for their tray? A little bit later today, we'll be hearing from the parents of Grammy-nominated artist Jack Harlow. We'll be hearing about how they have helped Jack to carry the tray. Even though he's had so many positive things coming to him from his hard work, it's still a burden. It can still be a weight to carry. And as a parent, it may be that at times you decide, you know what, my child isn't ready for that yet. So for now, I'm going to take that from their tray and I'm going to keep it on my tray for now until they're ready to handle it. And it could be that at times your child is walking through some rocky terrain and their tray is shifting every which way. And so you have to come alongside and help support them holding their tray. But it's not time to take their tray from them. It could be that you hold some things up. It could be that every once in a while something slips off the tray that needs to be picked back up. Maybe their schoolwork starts to slip. It's not your responsibility to take care of your schoolwork for your child, but maybe you can put some things in place that help support them and help them get the schoolwork back up on their tray so that they can carry it again. And that is really what resilience is all about. We'll come back to the tray a little bit later, but for now, understand that every child has a tray that they need to carry. Every person has a tray that they have been that has been placed in their hands, and now it's starting to pile up. So as a parent, as a trusted adult in a child's life, it is your job to determine, you know what, they're not quite ready yet to carry this part, so I'm going to help them do that. And you know what, this is a really rough period right now. They just lost grandma. They just something big just happened. So I'm going to need to walk alongside of them and help support their tray. But I'm not going to take the tray from them. I'm going to let them continue to carry their tray so that they can continue to build up that strength, continue to build up those mental muscles so that they are ready for whatever is coming next. The big point here is, as a parent, we need to decide that for our children, I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. Let me say that again. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. Not too long ago, I had a youngish client come into my office, and he would get angry anytime he had to do a task and he was not assisted with the task. As an example, we were in an art room doing some art therapy type things, and he wanted to paint. So he said, we were getting water for the paint, and he said, I'll hold the cup, you turn on the water. And I looked at him and I said, I think that's something that you can do. And he kind of grimaced at me and he turned on the water and he held the cup under there. Then he said this, I'll get the paint, you hand me the brush. And I looked at him and I said, I think that's something that you can do. And he grabbed the brush and he got the paint. And then at the end, it was time to clean up. And I told him I would put away the containers of paint, but he needed to handle the other things. And he said, why won't you just wipe off the table? And I said, because that's something I think you can do. You can't reach where the paint goes, but you can wipe off the table. He was so frustrated with me that not everything we were doing was a partnership, that not everything was a team task, that there were some things he was going to have to do on his own because he was fully capable of doing those things. And guess what? All the things he said, all the questions he asked, those are fully legitimate questions. Those are completely fine things to ask, completely fine things to say. But here's what it told me. This child is used to everything being a partnership with his parents, which on the surface looks so great. But what had happened was his parents had started to become partners. His parents had started to take some things off his tray that he was fully prepared, fully equipped, and needed to carry himself. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And this child specifically, and in other children, when you take things off of their tray, when they are equipped to handle them, it sends a signal to them, maybe I am not equipped to handle this. Maybe I'm not ready for this thing. And so it causes them to doubt themselves. And in turn, it creates a separation anxiety where I don't know if I can be away from mom. I don't know if I can be away from dad. I don't know if I can be away from whoever the caregiver might be, whoever that parent, whoever that trusted adult may be. I don't know if I can go away from them because they help me carry the tray. As I was talking to his parents, they said things like, we had some trouble controlling our emotions this week. And what they meant was he had some trouble controlling his emotions this past week. And I get it. We want this to be a partnership. We want this to be a thing where children feel supported and loved. And yes, that is the overall goal. But part of that love and support is allowing children to carry their tray when they're equipped. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. Maybe as I've been talking, you've been thinking, oh my goodness, that's me. That's me. I'm the one who comes right along and I make all the snacks. I make all the meals. I make 6 different meals so that everybody in the house is happy. I make sure that little Jimmy in my class has all of his things laid out on his desk, and I take care of all of that. And I make sure that I stand next to little Jimmy while I'm talking to the whole rest of the class. And some of those things are fantastic. And some of them have removed some things from your child's tray or from the children in your care. You've removed some things from their tray that they are fully equipped themselves to handle. If that is you, there is hope. You can start now building that resilience, building up those mental muscles, building up those social muscles to allow children to carry their tray when they need to. Let's talk about building this resilience, building this ability to carry the tray at every stage of a child's development. When we talk about childhood development, it is important to understand that age and stage are different. There could be a child that is 8 years old, but is way ahead. And so they're at about a 10-year-old's development. It could be that maybe they're a bit behind. And so they're at a 6-year-old's development. When you think about child development, think about their age and the general stage that they might be in, and then see how you need to adjust. But basically, there are a few different stages of childhood development, and we won't go into all of the technical terms about all of those things. But if you do want to learn more about childhood development, then make sure to tune in on May 28th. I know it's in 3 months. May 28th, tune in on Facebook right here live at 5 p.m. And I'll be talking through the different stages of childhood development as well. But the first stage is what's called early childhood development. It's early on in their childhood and they are developing. During this time, children need to learn how they can trust themselves and how they can trust others. This is that point where they've just received their tray. They've now gotten their tray and they are deciding, okay, what is it that I can have on this tray? What is it that mom and dad, mom or dad, grandparent, uncle, teacher, mentor, what are some things that they can help me carry? What are some things I'm going to have to carry by myself? This is also the time where they're building a strong foundation for the future, that they have that tray. That tray is their foundation. And if we're wanting to build resilience for children at this stage of their development, parents need to make sure at all stages to provide love. That's number one across all of these stages. The number one predictor of positive outcomes in children is for a child to know that there is an adult who loves them and they feel safe with that adult. That's the number one predictor of positive outcome. Doesn't matter how much money you had. It doesn't matter which neighborhood you grew up in. Doesn't matter which state you were in. Sure, all of those things have a factor, but the number one predictor of positive outcomes in children is whether or not they feel like they had someone that was loving, who they could trust, who could help them feel safe. It's also important that we give children care and support at this age and stage. And this is the time where children start to feel and need to start to learn how to express their emotions, both positive and negative. And parents can help in this time to help children regulate themselves and be able to express those things. Shamika shared all about how to partner alongside with your child, how to stop what you're doing and put down the phone and focus on your child, get down to their level, both physically and mentally, and let them express whatever it is that they need to express to you. This is that stage. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling kind of sad. Oh, that can be tough. Tell me about that. Now that child learns it's okay to talk to this adult about feeling sad. If when they come around and they say, and you're on your phone and you're, hey, how was today? And they look down and the child says, it was kind of a rough day. And you glance up and you say, oh, well, make sure you focus on the positive. And then you look back down at your phone and the child walks off. What you've just signaled to them now is some of these emotions are okay to talk about. Some of them are not okay to talk about. As a parent at this stage of development, in that early childhood, in the beginning stages, about first grade and younger, this is the time where children are really learning what is okay and safe to talk about and what is not okay and safe to talk about. If you need help starting some of those conversations about emotions with your children or with the children in your care, check out Mister Stu TV on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@Mister Stu TV. You do have to put the little @ symbol there, but youtube.com/@Mister Stu TV. We have some full-length episodes there that help children to understand different emotions, both emotions that are typically seen as positive and emotions that are seen as difficult. And during those videos, children can learn what the emotion is, what it feels like, and some ways to positively respond when those emotions come up. There was a young child in my office just a couple of weeks ago, and I just got a new Nerf gun, or new dart gun, I guess. It's not Nerf brand, but he had this dart gun, and he had put the dart in, and he said, Mr. Stu, I need you to load this for me. And I said, oh, you can figure it out. And so he starts playing with it and he can't quite get it. And all of a sudden he points the gun at the target that he wanted to shoot. And he took his fingers and he just threw the dart out of the gun. Let's imagine that this is it. He just took the dart and went, boop, and threw the dart. And then he goes, yeah, I did it. At this stage of a child's development, we need to send that message. I'll do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And let's add a second piece to that. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I would not have just launched the dart with my fingers. I would have cocked it back and shot it. But to this child, he did it. He got it. And you know what? If he's having a blast, that was the whole point of the activity. If he's having fun and feels proud of himself for figuring out a way to do what it was he was desiring to do, then that is a big win. And that tells him, you know what? On my tray, I can do some more things. I can add some things because I am trusted to take care of this. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay to do it if you do it differently than I would. Let's talk a little bit about the next phase of childhood development. It's called middle childhood. Again, that makes sense. There's early, there's middle, and then there's adolescence. Well, in the middle childhood development, we're talking about from around second grade to about middle school. So from first grade down is our first point about understanding they are receiving their tray for the first time and learning how to trust themselves and the adults in their life. This middle childhood piece, now they've got some things on their tray. They've learned, you know what, I can't go to mom to ask her to hand me an apple. I can't go to dad and ask him to fill up this plastic cup of water that I'm fully capable of doing. And as they move into this next phase, they start to get more confidence if they've been able to carry their tray. They start to become more independent if they've been allowed to carry their tray. To help build some more resilience at this stage, after you've already built up this idea that it's okay to come and talk to me about whatever's going on. It's okay to talk about positive situations, difficult situations, positive emotions, difficult emotions. When you can build resilience at this stage, you've got to start providing opportunities for children to explore some of their own personal interests and abilities and understand realistic expectations about those things. Let me give you an example. When I was back in 4th and 5th grade, I was, and still am, terrible at sports. And in 4th and 5th grade, I tried to do church league basketball. Well, 4th grade, I scored 2 free throws in the final game of the season, and I had not scored any points the whole rest of the season. So I got most improved award, and that just made me feel so good back then. Looking back now, it's like you started from the bottom and now you're here. You started from the bottom, now you made 2 free throws, you think you're a big shot. And in that moment, that expectation was set of, okay, great, progress is good. Well, my 5th grade year, I went back and I played again, and I was just terrible. I was awful at basketball. I mean, I was bad 4th grade too, but 5th grade, I was absolutely terrible. And in my 5th grade year, everybody got a certificate, and my certificate was the award for best team spirit. What that means is you are never going to make it on a basketball court. You are not good at this at all, but we had to give you a certificate. At this stage of a child's life, during this middle childhood development, it's not that we crush dreams. It's not that we tell them there's things that they can or cannot do, but there are times to set realistic expectations that, hey, if you get on stage and you say you're this great singer and you haven't practiced, the crowd might not just clap for you to be nice. If you really want to excel in a class and you didn't study, the teacher isn't going to give you a smiley face sticker just because they can tell that you really wanted it. This is the time where children start to understand that expectations are part of this whole thing. In this stage of their development, it's important to have open communication and allow children to start making meaningful and positive connections with their peers, with other children who might be in their class. If you'll allow that, then what that signals to the child is, I don't have to go to mom or dad or uncle or grandpa or grandma or whoever the caretaker is. I don't have to go to them for every single thing. As a matter of fact, little Susie in my class, she's really great at math. I'm really great at reading. Maybe I can help her with reading and she can help me with math. And when you start to build up those things, now there's other people, other situations helping your child carry their tray. And that is some middle childhood development. To go along with some of that, I talked about exploring some of their interests and abilities. There is a quick video that I would love to show you from one of our crew members on Mister Stu TV. This is his son at, I think, Incredible Dave's playing an arcade game. And I'll tell you what I saw in this video that just made me love it and want to show you more. So check this video out, and then I'll tell you what I saw. All right, so a couple quick things. First off, this is a 5-year-old playing this game about dinosaurs coming to attack, and his dad was standing right there with him, supporting him, cheering him on, saying, "You got this, buddy. You can do it." And the coolest thing to me is when this little boy, he realizes, oh my goodness, there's a lot of buttons up on this console. I don't know if I can reach and turn and do everything that I need to do. And so he takes his foot, because that was the only thing that could reach. He takes his foot and reaches it up and smashes that button and launches the grenade. And his dad is just cheering him on. Now imagine had his dad said, "Oh, it's okay, I'll push the grenade button for you." Would that cause harm to this child? Absolutely not. But in that moment, the dad chose to cheer him on and let him do it in a way that maybe the dad wouldn't have done it. But the dad understood, I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. Then our next piece, and it's okay if you do it differently than I would. And finally, I'll be here to cheer you on. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I'll be here to cheer you on. The final stage of childhood development is what's called adolescent development. During this time, children are developing both physically and mentally. And at this stage, it's important for parents to start to provide more guidance, much more guidance, rather than just stepping in and taking over. Susie wants to, I don't know why I always pick these ridiculous names. Susie wants to join the chess team. Great. All right, Susie, you sign up. Let me know the details. Billy wants to be on the in the play. All right, Billy, go audition. You got this. Let me know your part. Let me know when rehearsals are. At this phase, you're starting to let the child take even more onto their tray. By choosing to not just take things off of a child's tray and do for them things that they could do for themselves, you are empowering them, not limiting them. You are actually decreasing their stress and decreasing their anxiety and decreasing your stress and decreasing your anxiety because you see that your child is equipped to carry the tray. Now, it's not always pretty. There are times where things will fall off the tray and you have to help them pick those things back up. There could be times where they trip and fall and they spill the tray everywhere and you have to help them collect all of the broken pieces and leave behind some of those other things. Addiction can be seen as they're reaching for something that maybe they shouldn't get their hands on, but as they're reaching for it, they spill the tray or they set the tray down and they decide this thing is much more important. And so they start to carry this, they wander off and they leave their tray, and they might need you in the future to help them wander back and find their tray and pick up the pieces. It could also be that at some point your child has something huge that gets attempted to be placed onto their tray, or maybe it just falls onto their tray. Maybe there's the death of a friend or a close family member and it is really tough. Maybe it's some mental illness and it is really tough and your child cannot carry this and their tray, and that's when it's time to step in and ask a professional to help your child take some of this off of their tray because they're not quite ready for it yet. But as much as possible, when you allow a child to carry their own tray, they can be prepared for whatever it is that's about to happen. Because as those things get added, they build up that mental strength, they build up that resilience, and then they're able to handle more of the things that face them. I do what's called child-centered play therapy in my practice. It's the main, we call modality, the modality that I use. And the man who is credited with a major portion of that theory, his name is Gary Landreth. I got to do a training where Gary Landreth was leading the training. It was absolutely amazing. If you ever have the chance and you hear about the name Gary Landreth, read whatever he's written and go to whatever he's speaking at. But here's his story. He says, how did Clark Kent become Superman? And so many people would say Clark Kent went in the phone booth, changed, and then came out and became Superman. Gary Landreth says this. No. Clark Kent was born Superman. He just needed a safe place to show the rest of the world that's who he already was. As parents, as adults who children trust, helping to raise and support children and helping to build that resilience in them and wanting to raise little superheroes who are capable of carrying their trays. It's not about instilling in them something brand new that they have no idea about. It's about providing a safe space, safe to talk about all emotions, safe to talk about all experiences, safe to try out all kinds of different things, safe to reach out to different people for friendships, and I'm going to be there to support you. This is a safe place. And once children have that, they can show the rest of the world the little super people that they already are. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I'll be here to cheer you on. I'm excited to get to know you better. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I'll be here to cheer you on. I'm excited to get to know you better. Having that strong foundation of knowing I can carry my tray is essential for children's mental health. Parents, caregivers, adults who children trust can build resilience in children by providing love and support and guidance throughout every stage of their development. Then as those children grow, children can explore all of their interests, take some risks, establish positive relationships with other people. And it is so important to remember that the most powerful tool in all of this is unconditional love and acceptance of your child and their unique abilities. I will do what you can't do. I won't do what you won't do. And it's okay if you do it differently than I would. I'll be here to cheer you on. I'm excited to get to know you better. And that is how you can raise little superheroes.
All right. I managed to unmute myself this time.
There it is.
Thank you very much for helping to discuss, building resiliency in kids, especially, I feel like many parents, myself included, sometimes we have trouble carrying our own trays. And so it makes sense that we want to not have our kids go through those same situations where they have difficulty. But can it ever go to the other direction as far as being too much? And at what point, if so, does it get to be too much to put on their tray? I mean, it's one thing to be able to handle, the schoolwork and then also chores and then also maybe having a job, but then also maybe helping their grandparents at their house. Like at what point or is there a point where it gets to be too much on the tray? And what do you do in those situations?
That's a great question. And yeah, it's not about testing how much your child can carry on their tray. It's not about, you know what, I'm just going to throw everything on you and you just deal with it and, have to handle it by yourself. that's where you have to know your child. You have to know, okay, this is my child. This is the stage that they're in. These are the things that they've already been through. And so I think that they are ready for this next thing. And maybe that's a good way to think about it, is think of it as a next thing, not another thing. When there's too many another things happening on your child's tray, it's going to get too heavy. But if it's, you know what, they got in an argument with one of their friends and they were able to make it through that. Now they're in another argument. Okay, they're going to be able to handle that because it was the next thing.
Excellent. Thank you. And also, I'm sure there's parents out there that maybe have a certain idea in their head of, what kind of things they want to get their kids into, what kind of things they might want to put on their tray. Say there's a situation where, as a parent, you want your kid to put something on their tray that maybe they don't want. Let's say, you're putting them into sports and they don't really want that, or you want to get them into learning music or they don't want that. Is there a point where you need to let the kid decide what's on their tray, or is there a point too where you need to occasionally put things on the kid's tray to let them see if they like it or not?
That's another great question that parents ask about all the time. Like, I really want them to start playing football, or I really want them to play a sport or learn how to play music or whatever it might be. Shamika talked a whole lot about really engaging with your child and their interests. So that is a big thing. That doesn't mean that there's never a time to say, hey, I think my child would really enjoy this thing. I'm going to push them to try it. And in those moments, that's a great idea. There's some ways to tell if your child is in too many activities. If you are the one who is constantly managing your child's schedule, then it might be that there's too many activities. But if your child is coming to you and saying, "Don't forget, I got chess club today. Don't forget, I've got basketball practice. Don't forget, I'm hanging out with my friends this weekend," whatever that thing might be, if they are keeping track of that schedule, then that means their tray is balanced. They're able to handle these things, and it's things they're interested in, not things that you are just kind of pushing them constantly to do. So if you are constantly the one that's having to remind them, it's piano practice day, and every single time you say that, they're like, and once they're done with piano practice, it's, it might be time to take that off the tray. But there's nothing wrong with pushing your children to try new things and try different things, whether it be food or activities, whatever the thing might be.
Gotcha. It sounds like constant reassessment of the situation it sounds like it's just ongoing.
Yeah. And to note those stages grow. It's not like, okay, your child turned 8. Now they're in middle childhood development and they'll be there until they're 12. It's not like that. It's a constantly developing situation that your child is constantly learning little lessons and growing in their abilities.
It sounds like as parents, you're constantly growing and learning as well along with them.
Yes, and that's why it's important that you let them carry their tray so you can carry yours as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. I do have one last question. So as the world continues to evolve and change, there's so many things that are new out there for kids to get into, whether it be, different kind of shows or different kind of technologies. And sometimes I think as parents, kids might put things on their tray that maybe we don't understand. Like, what is this? What is a TikTok? There's, and I'm sure things will continue to come out over the years. How can parents help their kids navigate things on their tray in a safe way, because those things can also open doors for them to get into things that, parents might not even be aware of, the dangers of, being out there and putting themselves out there. Like, how can, as parents, we keep our kids safe for putting things on their tray with things that maybe we don't even fully understand ourselves?
That, yes, that also happens all the time. And I think that comes back to having those open and honest discussions with your child. If you are able to talk to your child and say, "Hey, I don't know what this TikTok thing is. Can we sit down for a few minutes and you show me what's on TikTok? What do you like to watch on TikTok?" All those types of things. Now it's become collaborative, because if you Google, "Is it safe for kids to be on TikTok?" guess what? You are going to find all kinds of things about. One way says yes, as a matter of fact, it is important for kids to be on TikTok. And then you are going to find other experts who are just as expert saying, do not ever let your child even glance at a TikTok. And it's your job as the parent or as the trusted adult in that child's life to figure out where on that spectrum they may be. And in order to do that, why not just have that conversation with the child? Sit down with them and see why is it they're wanting to get into this? Are there other ways that they might be able to get this? Is there a need that's being unmet? Just like Shamika was saying, see what the message is beneath the message. Yes, they want to be on TikTok. Is it because they want to be a social media influencer? Is it because they really want to watch some influencer? Is it because they have a friend and they really want to follow what their friend is doing? What's the motivation? And once you can understand that, you can decide if this is a safe choice for my child or not.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your wisdom today, as well as all the great stuff you've been doing, not just as a child therapist, but as well as the great work you've been doing on Mister Stu TV. I think that's a great concept that's continuing to develop and grow, and I'm excited to see where that goes as well. But I think the big takeaway for me is we as parents have a tremendous influence on our kids,